Hey, Ron, this is always one of my favorite topics. Influencers sometimes come in literally a second. Somebody says something, right time, right place, or sometimes over a lifetime. And um, my first influencer, if you will, was my grandfather, for example. My grandparents, my mom and my aunt were from Kyiv, and they came over to Montreal years back. And he used to take me for walks in the park when I was like 5 or 6. And one day I asked him, I called him Zeta. I said, Zeta, how do you know all these people that you talk to? And with his Ukrainian accent, he said, well, one day I smiled at somebody and he then smiled back at me and then he started talking to me. So I talked to him. And then somebody else walked by and smiled also. So we started talking and it just went on. And I understood it even as a 5 and 6 years old, but then got to know it more that even a smile can be an influencer, and they ended up influencing each other because of a smile. So we've all had many influencers. Can you share with us two or three that have been in your life?
Sure, and yeah, my father is one of them. Well, very smart guy. He went to Harvard on a full boat. Graduated top in his class at the same high school that I went to, and I graduated like right in the middle. I've always been a 3.0 student, and he was like the 4.0. And His one of his professors in Harvard was Carl Sagan. I mean, I have the
Wow.
paper. He got a B plus on a paper. He had to create a life form. But my dad did. And Carl Sagan graded. They gave him a B plus. But in any case, he was a mechanical engineer and went into business, and so it was a really good. He was a very good role model. From a number, just a good family man. And he worked a lot. It's the 70s. He was always working. He was always traveling, always working. So home with mom. Thank God my mom stayed home. But I'll stick with my influencers. My first boss, Joseph Krieger, 25 years old. He's the guy that under Eric Cosman that hired me. Their dad created radio surgery. It was a big neurosurgical company in Burlington, Massachusetts. But this is a fellow that is he's a thought leader in the regenerative medicine field, and he does a lot in education and healthcare. A company called Boston BioLife, but he was my first boss over 25 years ago,
Wow.
and we worked together. This crew of MIT professors under Eric Cosman, who was the youngest professor ever at MIT. He was our boss. He hired a bunch of, as Joe put it, a bunch of young punks to come in and sell their products, which is what we did. But Joe and I remain good friends today, and there's a number of things about him that really influenced me. And he's an intellect, he's a genius, he's a biologist, but sort of brings almost like a sports mentality, a captain mentality. The same mentality you bring onto the football field, he would bring it into the meetings, and those meetings would get very interesting. Uh,
I love that.
and this guy got results. And so and then another guy, Ed Blue. And I'll say it out loud. This guy, he was. Well, actually, I don't know if I want to say it out loud. He's a therapist, but he's been my friend for 5-6 years now. He has an incredible outlook on life, and he does amazing work in the mental health space. But he and I are he has this whole program based on empowerment, and it's heavily based in psychology. And he has he kind of took me under his wing many years ago, and we're friends. But he's in a sense he's like a mental health mentor to me. And so I'll leave it at those three right there. But let me throw in Sylvester Stallone, because I saw Rocky when I was 10 years old. My grandmother was in the back, sitting next to my little Nana, who was 4.5 feet tall, and she was shadowboxing the whole time. That stuck. Yeah.
I love that story. That's awesome. Way to go. Hey, thanks for sharing that. One thing it teaches us, I believe, is that we're always influencing people, whether we know it or not. And it's our choice to do it either positively or negatively. And I think it's stuff we should be thinking about. So thanks for sharing about those great influencers, and thanks for being a good one yourself too.
Oh, thanks, Mark. Appreciate it.